Welcome to another video. It's maybe random, but I always felt like kind of writing a book or like having some kind of, how do you say it, some kind of history of my past for like how it was when I grew up and where how my life has been, and all the things I've experienced and all sort of weird stuff. So I thought about making a video trying to describe shortly but detailed about how my life was as far as I can remember backwards. So let's start. Where do we start? I think I mostly remember. When do I? I don't even know how to approach this. I never script my videos. Anyway, let's see here. So I was born in Göteborg. I don't remember much. There are few instances that I remember, but very vague. I remember when I was about 5 to 6, we moved and I started school. Jesus, I better close the window. That is so annoying. I don't know if people can hear that. There's so many kids screaming every day outside the window. Damn. There's always so many kids screaming. That was so rare when I was little. Like no one would ever scream like that. Anyway, we're starting over. So I remember from about 5. I was about 5. And we lived in Hässleholm. I started in a school, and everything was very odd, because when I was little I was raised by my grandma and grandpa most, and they were very old-fashioned. So it was like I had to wear a suit and a tie, and I was a very little kid. I wasn't allowed to watch certain shows or whatever. So when I came to a normal school, when you what's it called when you're not really in school? It's like you have grades. You have first grade, second grade, but I was in grade 0. It's like before you start actually doing stuff. I remember getting in that class and all these random children were there, and they all sat in a circle, and everyone had a fruit. There I came. I didn't have fruit or anything. I was just getting in there, and everything felt so weird because it was not what I was used to, and that's how the school was. Like everyone walked around and talked about stuff I had no idea about. They talked about Cartoon Network shows that I wasn't allowed to watch them when I was a kid, so I had no idea what that was about. They talked about Star Wars, which I had no idea either what that was, and everything was just a mystery to me, and I was such an outsider there for a while. And I was very stupid as a kid. I was basically retarded, because my grandparents, they were extremely Christian and very religious, and they were very protective of me not being informed of certain medias. So everything was very it was like you didn't understand anything, and I didn't really understand how to socialize and be with other normal children. So it was very weird. And I remember eventually I somewhat befriended some of the kids, but I didn't really know. I was always trying to escape from my grandparents' house, so when we weren't in school and we were at home, I always did my homework, and then I basically just escaped, and I just ran out and I visited every single school neighbor kid that lived in nearby. So I always went and knocked on their door and was like, is this dude home? Can I come in and play? And I did that on all people to try and have fun, because it was never any fun being at home. So yeah, that's how it was. Usually they invited me, and I got to chill with them. They didn't really want me to, but they were kind of forced to, because everyone were in this neighborhood and everyone tried to be nice to each other. So they always tried to play games that I couldn't or wasn't allowed to join, because my grandparents gave me rules that you're not allowed to play this or that, and they always did those things. I had to go home. But sometimes I could stay longer, and I stayed there and just messing around. But yeah, that's how it was until I think I was, how old was I? It was like that until I was 10. I had a really good friend though. One of the neighbor kids was very nice, and he was like my role model. So I was like a blank slate, and I just took everything I knew was basically from him. So I basically just took his behavior and used it for myself. And when I started the other school, that helped me a lot because I wasn't such a weirdo, and I was more knowledgeable about things, and I had this brand new funny personality. So it was me and my mom basically moved out from my grandparents at 10, and that's when I started a new school, and that school was very messed up. There were so many aggressive and mean kids, and there was so many unacceptable things that happened, but they were still funny, so it was sort of weird, and everyone were kind of gangsta, and which is weird because we were all very young. It was like, what was it, like 10 to 11 or 12, I think I went in that school, something like that. But some things that happened I can tell about. We had this one kid, and he was so messed up in the head. He used to scream during class, and then he threw things around, and I remember the teacher took him and grabbed him by the legs and had to grab him out of the classroom, and he locked the door, and he was like, now we can continue class. And just a few minutes later, we had the back door, and the kid that got dragged out, he kicked open the door, and he jumped in like, here I am again, what's up? And everyone just laughed, and the teacher was pissed and had to drag him out, and then other teachers came to help him with it. It was such a mess. So yeah, that's the type of school that it was. I remember there was one time, there wasn't, back in the days there weren't many video games, so we had to basically just have fun at school. No one had really phones. Having a phone was like a big deal back then. But yeah, there was this one time where we had reserved the football field, and we ran out to play football during the break, and another class had taken it. So all of my classmates just ran into the school kitchen and grabbed a bunch of knives and scissors and everything, and they ran out and started throwing it at the other class that were playing football on our field. And I was just standing there like, what the fuck is going on? And I saw there was 2 teachers standing like this, watching it all happen. And I just walked up to them and said, is this okay? Aren't you gonna do something? And they were like, we don't want to get knives thrown at us. And it was very, very messy. I don't remember anyone getting hurt, so that was fine. But that's just one of those back memories that is like nothing you really can't forget, but something you don't want to really remember either. I was very messed up. And I also remember this one time, there was this hill, and this was a few months later when I knew some kids, and we used to hang out a bit. And there was this hill, and then there was a driveway, and we always stood on the hill and threw pine cones at cars. And we always threw just 1 or 2, just to... I don't really know why we did that. We were stupid kids. But then suddenly, one time, all of us took like a bunch of them and just threw them on a car. You could hear this brrr. It was like the car was getting bombarded from artillery, and the car just stopped, and everyone got so scared, like, oh shit, and everyone just ran back into the school. And the dude actually drove into the school and talked to the teachers, and they called out all of our names, and we all went in there, was like, it was him, and we blamed one of the kids, and he got all the shit for it, and we got away like without any problems. That poor dude. Luckily, I don't remember there being any real, what's it called, repercussions. We were all still kids, it was basically just like, don't do that again. But yeah, I was very, very messed up, but still, for us, we were children, it was very funny. What happened later? I remember we moved again. We moved to a new. Where did we move? No, wait. We didn't move. I just started a new school, and I had to take the bus for what was it? It was like an hour to get to school for me, and I was like still 12, and that was so much for me. It was so taxing taking that bus, and then the school had so much later hours than my old one had. It was like 1 hour plus, so I went there like 7 or 8 in the morning and came home at like 6 or 7, and in the evening it was like having a very hard long job, and I just couldn't do it, so I started skipping school, and I couldn't handle it. That school was annoying because I was already getting used to the feeling of getting to a new place, working up friends, and the people to hang out with, and then having it all disappear and having to start over. And that was very, very tough. Around this point, there were a bunch of gangsta hooligan kids that my mom used to give cigarettes to. Around that time, those guys showed up, and I used to hang out with those. But yeah. Also, I think that's the time where video games got a little revamp. I remember the Xbox was out, and GameCube was out, so we used to sit and play just video games on split screen. It was pretty fun, chill. But it was always weird because I was like a 10, 11-year-old dude, and the other ones were like getting close to like 18 and 20, and it was always such a weird vibe. But yeah, I was skipping that school. I was just being at home playing games with them. Then we moved again. We moved to a new school, and in this school I just didn't care. I was just tired of moving around and changing schools and all that. So I was just keeping to myself. During breaks, I went out and sat on benches, and I don't know, it wasn't interesting. We lived very close to the school as well. That was the closest I ever lived to a school. So I used to go home actually when we had the 1 hour lunch breaks. I didn't eat lunch. I just went home and chilled and watched TV. I feel like that's the point also where I started going back to being dumb. So growing up, I had all these other experiences, and I just stopped trying to be funny or anything. I just kept to myself. I didn't care at all. Some kids were often walking up to me, and they were basically it was like a ridiculing moment where they just walked up to me and were like, "Who are you? Why are you so weird or whatever?" I was always, I just didn't care. Just for myself. I was in that school maybe half a year or something. Mom found a new boyfriend. We moved to Stockholm. Time to change school again. So I ended up in this mini class. It was a very small class. It was they put me I was supposed to go into the support class for people with dyslexia and reading problems and stuff. But they put me in the mentally handicapped class, which was, to be honest, it wasn't that bad. Back then, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But I basically just had to go to school 2 times a week, and it was just for like 2-3 hours. And it was me and 2 other kids. One of them was handicapped. The other one was he was called Muhammad, and he did not like me. He kept trying to bully me, and he was rude to me and whatever. He was rarely there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really care. I was mostly at home. I could do my stuff. I could play my games. That's all I cared about. So I just stayed at home. Then they were like, "Oh shit, we put you in the wrong class." And then they put me in the normal class. And this class was reminding me of the chaos school that I went to. It wasn't that bad. They were like more chill. So I used to just sit on my school bench and just watch how the others behave. And it was like a live show, you know, it was like you watching a play of people doing dumb shit. And it was very fun. And from nowhere they started approaching me, which is very weird because it's always been, if someone approached me, it was to just ask me something or ridicule me or just be like, haha, you're weird, you know. But this time they just came and approached me and wanted to know me and stuff. And before I knew it, they were all my friends. And this is the first time probably ever since I had really good friends that I could hang out with and talk to and stuff. And so I just became part of their group, and we just hanged out every day. It was just fun and nice. We then moved again, but we still stayed in that school. There was a bunch of stuff that happened during that class. One of the kids there and me, we had such a good pair. We had the exact same humor. I was starting to becoming my own person, and I knew what I liked and didn't like, and we had like the exact same chemistry. So we always made school fun, because school is very boring, and we always, since we had such a weird class where everyone had some kind of problem, we were always having fun. Every time we got assignments, we just made fun of it and did the best thing ever. Like, describe to us your favorite dream house. And then he and me, we were like, oh boy. And then we just wrote in, we wanted a skyscraper with weed plantations and clan house gaming rooms. And we were just making the fun of we were making the best of the situation of going to school. And I also remember I always got like a little pocket buck to bring to school. So we always spent it on soda every single day. So when there was lunch, we didn't eat the lunch. We went out, we bought soda and some chips. And then we just chilled in the classroom and watched videos and just messed around. And then we always saved all the cans. We had these drawers where you pull out and put in your books. We took all the books and just got rid of them, and then we started stacking our soda cans into the drawers, like the book drawers. And I remember by the time that school was over and we were gonna go and get some new place to work at or whatever, those drawers were completely filled with soda cans, and it was so fun. And we decided to build a fortress out of them on the last day. So we took them and we bridged our seats. We had like 2 seats, and we built like a soda bridge with duct tape with them. That was very, very fun. But yeah, school ended, and it was time to move to a gymnasium. And I started in a gymnasium to finish my grades, and just, it was like, I guess it's called high school or something, but it was like a high school where you finish your grades and then you get some knowledge, and they still keep teaching you stuff. And then you can like branch off into a category if you keep going there. I remember that was very tough, because that was another situation where it was like when I was younger, where it was like you go there early, you come home very late, it's a long subway drive, it was like an hour there, an hour home, and it was very taxing for me. I've never been able to handle those really long breaks or times. Like I couldn't handle it, it was too much. Yeah, I was also going to psychiatrists, and they did like tests on me and evaluated my problems. They came with the conclusion that I have a lower work capability, like I can't focus and do stuff for a long time. So that was like already getting into the point there. So yeah, I started skipping that. I was getting more sick, and I started developing this chest problem, and they gave me a sick leave. After going there, I went there for like a few months, and they gave me a sick leave for half a year. And eventually they changed me to another place where I just basically didn't go at all. I should have gone there 2 times every week. I ended up going there once, maybe. Sometimes I didn't go there at all. It was just too difficult, and I just couldn't bother with it. But I did go there those days where it matters because I had to finish my grades. So I went there those days where it's like you have to do these to complete your grades completely. And I did those and I passed. So it was like good. I did what I had to do with school. What happened then? What did happen then after that? Oh yeah, that was over and they put me in a work. It's like a work training thing where you practice going to work. You go there twice a week again and you just do mundane tasks. And I did it a few times, skipped on it again, didn't bother with it, was pointless. I just didn't do much, and then that's when everything started being very bad. I was just at home, and when I went out with my friends and just chilled. That's when all the problems started coming up, and my depression was very bad back then as well. And I got rejected from that girl in school, and I started realizing what I wanted in life and what I cared about. I didn't want to be alone, and I wanted to have a soulmate. So I tried to very hard. I really wanted to find someone. This was back when I still went in school, but it's like I'm pulling back the timer a bit now. But yeah, this went on for 2 to 3 years, and I luckily for me, I didn't have one of those depressions where you keep eating. I had one of those depressions where you stop eating, and I just didn't eat anything for like a month. And then I realized, oh wait, I'm looking a bit better. So I kept doing it, and then I started exercising and working out. And like half a year later, I was no longer fat. I was very, very thin. I was strong. I could do sit-ups, pull-ups, everything. I went out and ran. I ran faster than one of my friends who was like, he was the one dude that was very physically active. And he was like the best one at us at fighting and all that stuff. He was very good at living life, if we say it like that. And I remember I ran faster than him, and for longer, and I felt like I was finally in a good state with my body, and I was just able to do stuff. I was healthy. I felt very healthy and good, and that's when I realized that didn't change anything, because women and people still treated me the same. And eventually I just gave up on it all. I just were like, okay, there's no point. I guess that I'm not acceptable in society. I had nothing going on, no schools to be at. All I was being at home and chilling out with friends. And yeah, so I didn't do anything. So I gave up on trying to find a soulmate and finding a partner, and I just started to try and help people and be nice. I wanted to be there for people that were feeling bad, because I was tired of feeling bad, and I hated the feeling, so I wanted to make others feel good. So instead of trying to date people online and try to get dates and whatever, I just started talking with people who were feeling sad and try to cheer them up, So I'm feeling bad, I always ask, hey, what's up, you need to talk, and just being there for others. And that's when I met my ex. She was one of those people, and yeah, that's where all that started. Everyone knows the story around that. But yeah, it was like that for a few years. Many things happened. What happened was we hang out. Me and my friends hang out. Everything was basically as normal. I was hanging out with her. We were having both good times and bad times. It was mostly bad times, but we were still having good times here and there. And drama happened. Me and my friends fighted sometimes, but then we patched things up again. And then my ex cheated on me, and then we broke up, and then we got back together again. And then we broke up again, and then we got back together again, and it was always this sort of weird state. And then I moved, and it was time to move again. We were moving out of Stockholm. I think I was around 19 to 20 when this was happening, and we moved, and that's when I completely broke up with her, and it was like completely over between us. And we didn't have a new apartment for me and my mom, and I didn't have any income or economy, so I had to go with her, so I couldn't be with my friends anymore. That sucked very much, but it felt like I had such a social life with them, and I was always surrounded by people basically, and it felt good to just have a time alone. And the place they put me to live in was in a cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere. It was like in the woods, like, have you ever seen a horror show where there's just one cabin in the woods and there's nothing, no other people there? That was basically where I was living, and I was all alone there. I had a landlord who lived in a house next door, but in the cabin I was all alone. I had a place for myself. I was very, very small. It was like my room, like I'm in now. Wasn't much bigger than that. There was basically no internet. I was there for like 4 months or 5. It was very relaxing and chill. All I did was exercise, just watch movies and play some games those games that I could play, I played. It was just hanging out for myself and relaxing and like calming down from everything that have happened. That's where I also met, I was still talking with people online. And that's where I met this one girl that I started hanging out with, and we just did stuff together. She liked to game too. It was just nice. Then that ended. I moved back to. We got a new place, and we moved there, and that's where we still live today, which is the longest period I've ever lived in the same place. We moved to this apartment when I was around 20. I think I was around 20. That's when my ex came back, and she was very different. She was basically showing me that she knew what she wanted, and she wanted to try to work things out with me, and I had nothing else going on for me, and I don't know, I always try to see the good in people, so I was like, okay, let's give it a chance, a shot. And it actually was pretty good. She had changed a lot, and we had somewhat of a stable relationship. It was basically just me and her living here for many years, until our health got much worse. My health got worse, but hers got incredibly bad, and it just became frustrating trying to take care of her all the time. And then her health got better, and she still had this kind of, how do you say it? She had the type of attitude where she didn't really want to hang out or really and do anything. She just wanted to do stuff for herself, and it felt like we were just two different people. We didn't really hang out, even though we were under the same roof. And I just felt like there was no romance or anything left between us. I was just tired of all the stuff, and I just wanted us to hang out, and she didn't want to. So I said like, okay, well, let's take a break. You should go and live with your parents for a while, and I'll be alone here, and we'll see where it will take us. And she said, I don't want to do that. If you do that, I'm breaking up with you. And I was like, I don't want you to threaten me like that. So I said like, okay, let's just break up. And that's when we broke up the final time. So that's where it all ended. I think I was around 25. I think 25 was the age. I'm not really sure. But this had all gone on for like 5 years or so. And then I spent a year alone, basically. That's where a few months later, I tried, to get into the world. I tried to get friends. I tried to start meeting new people, and it didn't work out, and I was in a really bad mood and state, and that's when I first made this YouTube channel and the first video, which didn't get any views at the time. It was like very low on views for like the year. But yeah, I was just doing my stuff. I finally, eventually, I did meet a few people, and I had a chance to meet a few more people. Like, I was at the point where I could meet people, but my health was so bad that I couldn't actually go out and meet them, and it was just very frustrating. I remember there was this one girl I talked to, and she seemed like she would be one of those people that I could actually meet, and maybe there could be something between us. But I remember there was one thing she said, like, well, what are you? Can't you go out and do stuff like this? Are you like an old grandpa? And I was like, yeah, I basically feel like an old grandpa when I can barely go down to the store myself, because my breathing problems are so bad and I can't do anything. So I just felt like, maybe there's no point. Maybe there is no point to this. And I should just focus on myself and wait until I get better. So I just gave up on it all. And I was just for myself. I remember my friends came and visited me one time. They could barely visit me because we moved so far away, so I barely saw them. The only time I ever had contact with them was online, which wasn't that much at the time either. But they came here, visited, we had fun. I think my ex visited too once or twice, but it was very awkward and weird, and there was no chance for us to getting back together either, so it was just like a friendly visit. And yeah, then from nowhere my channel got a bunch of views, and the community formed. I met Lullaby, and yeah, that's where the story is now. Anyway, that's a short summarized story of my life, from as far as I can remember. I know the dates and years and stuff aren't very accurate, but it's in a somewhat memorable range. Hope you enjoyed this story time. And yeah, that's about it for this video. 32 minutes, I guess that's enough. But yeah, see you on the next video, and hope you all have a good time. See you later.